I remember that day as if it were etched in stone, the day my world collapsed with a single phone call. I am Corbin Mitchell, 36 years old, sitting in the CEO's office of the West Coast branch of Mitchell Motors, the company my father, Arthur Mitchell, had poured his heart and soul into building from nothing. It was an ordinary morning in Los Angeles, golden sunlight streaming through the high-rise windows, and I was reviewing the latest quarterly sales report. The company was thriving thanks to fresh ideas my father and I had brainstormed during late-night video calls. He was always proud of me, calling me his right-hand man, though I knew I still had much to learn. Then the phone rang. An unfamiliar number, but I answered anyway. The voice on the other end, my father's assistant, trembled. "Mr. Corbin, Mr. Arthur, he's gone. Sudden heart attack this morning at his home in Detroit." I froze. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. Heart attack? My father, the man strong as a machine who had weathered countless economic crises with a smile, gone just like that? I couldn't believe it. My heart pounded, my mind spun. I didn't cry right then. I just went numb, stood up, grabbed my car keys, and bolted out the door. "I have to get back now," I muttered to my assistant over the phone. I sped down the endless freeway, wind howling through the window, flooring the gas, trying not to think. But how could I not think? "Dad, why didn't you call me sooner? Why did you face that pain alone?" Tears began streaming down my cheeks. I pulled over on the roadside, pounding the steering wheel, screaming inside the sealed car. "Dad!" Why? The grief of his passing engulfed me. Memories flooded back. Dad teaching me to drive at 10, late nights together in the engine repair shop, his awkward hugs when Mom died 20 years ago. He was everything to me, father, mentor, confidant who understood me better than I understood myself. The funeral was held at the ancient St. Mary's Church, a gray stone landmark in downtown Detroit. By the time I arrived, it was late afternoon. The parking lot overflowed with luxury cars, Mercedes, BMWs, and models produced by Mitchell Motors itself. Detroit's business elite gathered in full, major shareholders, partners. They whispered in solemn black suits, surrounded by pristine white flowers. The atmosphere was heavy, but I sensed the respect for my father, Arthur Mitchell, who turned a small repair garage into a Midwestern automotive empire. I entered the church, legs like lead. The scent of lilies filled the air, mournful organ music echoing. Dad's casket sat center stage, draped in white flowers, and my heart clenched. He looked so peaceful, as if sleeping after a long day's work. I wanted to rush forward, see his face one last time, but then I saw them, Veronica Hale and Marcus Hale. Veronica, my stepmother, 48, stood like a queen. A sharp Wall Street investor before marrying Dad 8 years ago, she wore a fitted black dress, hair in a high bun, makeup flawless, directing the funeral like the true host. She greeted guests, shook hands, murmured fake condolences. Beside her was Marcus, her son from a previous marriage, 33, flashy in a custom Italian suit and gleaming silk tie. He relied on his mother, never truly worked, but boasted as the new heir. I'd tried to bond with them for Dad's sake, but now seeing them act as funeral proprietors, a vague unease stirred. I entered the main hall, struggling to stay composed. Heads turned, some nodded, others whispered. Veronica spotted me instantly. Her gaze swept over me, cold and contemptuous. Then she smiled, a mocking curled lip smirk as if I were an outsider. She stepped to the podium, microphone echoing. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to bid farewell to Arthur Mitchell, a great man. But today is not just farewell." She paused, scanning the room, voice sharp as a blade. "It is the start of a new chapter for Mitchell Motors. We will continue his legacy with fresher, bolder vision." The room fell silent. My heart raced. New chapter? Dad just died and she was already talking future? Then she turned to me, eyes piercing. "And Corbin," she said loudly, dripping disdain, "you only lived off your father. A parasite, nothing more. If you have any shame, leave now. This isn't for failures." Her words hit like a thunderclap. The room buzzed. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding my gaze, others whispering. I stood frozen, blood rushing to my face, fists clenched white. Parasite? I'd given 12 years to the company, from intern to West Coast CEO. Dad praised me publicly, called me Mitchell Motors' future. Now she dared say this at his funeral? Marcus stood beside her, silent, but his lips twitched in a scornful smile, enjoying the show. I wanted to scream, charge forward, demand why she humiliated me. But I thought of Dad. His send-off couldn't be chaos. I swallowed rage and tears, turned and walked out silently. My steps heavy, whispers cutting like knives behind me. Outside, Detroit's cold wind slapped my face, but the pain inside was colder. From behind the iron fence, I watched Dad's casket lowered. Grave diggers worked slowly, dirt clods thudding. Tears fell silently, blurring my vision. Dad, I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. When everyone left, cars thinning out, I dared enter the cemetery. Gray sky, chilling wind through stone graves. I knelt at Dad's plot, hand touching fresh earth. Dad, I whispered, voice breaking. I'm sorry I wasn't there in your final moments. Sorry I couldn't be there when you needed me. But I promise this won't end like this. Tears soaked the soil, and I sat for hours, cradling the pain, unaware this was just the start of a greater storm. The days following the funeral passed like a hazy dream, filled with pain and confusion. I stayed in Detroit, renting a small hotel room near downtown, unwilling to return to LA immediately. It felt like leaving would abandon Dad all over again. By day, I wandered the city, through familiar streets where Dad had shared stories of his youth. Run-down repair garages, noisy auto factories. Every corner evoked him. The smell of engine oil, the roar of motors, his warm smile saying, Corbin, one day you'll take Mitchell Motors further than I ever did. Now what? Veronica and Marcus had turned the funeral into their stage, and I felt like an outsider in my own family. Then a week later, I received a letter. It was in the hotel mailbox, crisp white envelope bearing the logo of Lang & Associates, Dad's trusted law firm for years. My heart pounded as I opened it. Dear Mr. Corbin Mitchell, we respectfully invite you to attend the reading of Mr. Arthur Mitchell's will tomorrow at 10 a.m. in our office. That was all. Brief, cold. I held the letter, hands trembling. The moment I'd been waiting for had arrived. Through Dad's will, I'd learn what he thought of me, of the future. I felt a strange suspense, as if something was wrong, a bad premonition. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lying in bed, my mind raced with thoughts. Veronica, how had she changed Dad? When he married her 8 years ago, I tried to accept it, thinking she'd bring him happiness after years alone. But gradually, I saw her meddle in the company, persuading him into risky ventures he once opposed. Marcus was different. He always envied me, bad-mouthing behind my back. You're a motherless orphan, he'd once hissed while drunk. Now it stung. Dad, did you abandon me like Mom did 20 years ago? The next morning, I drove to Lang & Associates, a sleek glass building in downtown Detroit. Light rain fell, making the air heavier. I entered the formal conference room. Long, polished wooden table, high-end leather chairs, abstract paintings on the walls. Attorney David Lang was already there. About 60, silver hair, gold-rimmed glasses, the man who'd worked with Dad from the start. He shook my hand, but his eyes were awkward, evasive. Corbin, hello. Sorry about everything. His voice trembled and unease gripped me. Why was he acting strange, as if he knew something he didn't want to say? Veronica and Marcus arrived late, striding in with sky-high confidence. She wore a powerful black suit, sparkling jewelry, hair in a high bun like a queen. Marcus followed in a shiny gray suit, flashy red tie, triumphant smile. They sat across from me, eyes sweeping over me like I was beneath them. Veronica smiled politely, but arrogance was clear. Hello, Corbin. Hope you're okay after the funeral. Her words were syrupy fake, giving me chills. Marcus lounged back, fiddling with his phone as if everything was already his. David Lang cleared his throat, opening the sealed envelope before us. His hands shook slightly, papers rustling. The tension was suffocating. I gripped my hands under the table, heart drumming. "Dad, what will you say?" Then Lang began reading, voice steady but hesitant. Per the last will and testament of Arthur Mitchell, all assets, including majority shares and operational control of Mitchell Motors, shall pass to Mrs. Veronica Hale and her son Marcus Hale. All real estate, investment funds, and personal accounts shall also be transferred to Mrs. Veronica and her son. The world stopped. I froze, ears ringing. Not a single mention of me. Not one word. After 12 years of dedication, sleepless nights, sacrifices, Dad cut me out. I stared at the paper, hoping I'd misheard. But no, it was clear. Veronica and Marcus got everything. It felt like a knife to the heart. "Why, Dad?" "You promised," said Mitchell Motors was mine. Or did Veronica change him? Doubt surged, mixed with pain. I wanted to scream, ask Lang if it was a mistake, but my throat choked. Veronica feigned emotion, dabbing tears with a silk handkerchief. Oh, Arthur, he always thought of the future. I promised to carry on his legacy, take Mitchell Motors to new heights. Her voice quivered, but I saw the fake, eyes flashing triumph. Marcus leaned back, smug grin as if he'd known all along. He glanced at me, lips curling, whispering to his mother. I clenched my fists, suppressing rage. Was this the real will? Why was Lang uneasy? But then I just sat numb, mind chaotic. The meeting ended quickly. I left like a ghost, driving aimlessly in the rain. Grief for Dad now doubled, betrayed by my own blood. I stopped by the lake, watching waves crash, crying like a child. "Dad, why did you do this to me?" I whispered. Memories flooded. Dad teaching me engines, praising me when the West Coast branch hit record sales. Now shattered. I felt suspense, fear for the future. What would happen to the company under my stepmother and her son? The very next day, Veronica moved lightning fast. She called a full company meeting at Mitchell Motors headquarters, a towering glass building on Detroit's outskirts, what Dad proudly called the heart of the empire. I got an email invite, but knew it wasn't friendly. I arrived, entering the packed auditorium, employees, shareholders, even media. Tension crackled, whispers everywhere. Veronica stood on stage, microphone in hand, turning the meeting into a power display. She wore a striking red suit, wavy hair like a star. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, voice booming, "today is a new day for Mitchell Motors. We will restructure, eliminate inefficiencies, and aim for the future." Scattered applause, but I saw unease in their eyes. Then she turned, naming me in front of everyone. And Corbin Mitchell, the incompetent, hindering the corporation's growth. He lived off his father too long. Her words exploded like a bomb. The room fell silent, air taut as a wire. Reporters swung cameras, flashes blinding. I sat, blood rushing to my face, but stayed quiet. Veronica signed my dismissal on stage, revoking authority and company access. Paper rustled, pen scratched. "From now on, Corbin has no connection to Mitchell Motors," she declared, triumphant. Marcus in the front row smirked. I felt ultimate humiliation, stripped bare before the crowd. But I didn't react. My gaze turned cold. I stood, left the room in absolute silence. Whispers followed, cameras capturing every step. That afternoon, media erupted. News spread across Detroit, from print to social media. I sat in the hotel watching TV, seeing myself leave the meeting under headlines. The failure of the auto empire. Pain surged, mixed with anger. Was this real, or something shady? I clenched my fists, knowing the storm had just begun. "Dad, I have to uncover the truth." After that horrific meeting, I left Mitchell Motors headquarters in the icy Detroit rain. Raindrops pelted the windshield like tears I could no longer shed. I drove slowly, hands gripping the steering wheel until they ached, carrying the humiliation of being stripped of power by my own family. Veronica, my stepmother, whom I had tried to respect for Dad's sake, had turned me into an outcast before hundreds of employees and reporters. Her words echoed in my head. Incompetent, hindering progress. How dare she? And Marcus with that contemptuous smirk as if he were born to trample me. The shame weighed heavier than loss itself, gnawing away bit by bit, making me feel small, worthless. The long road to the suburbs stretched endlessly, streetlights hazy in the rain, and I wondered, how could everything collapse so fast? Dad, if you were alive, what would you say? I returned to my modest apartment in the Detroit suburbs, a place I'd bought years ago for proximity to headquarters. Now it was my only refuge, a solitary corner amid the storm. The door creaked open, cold air rushing in like a bitter welcome. I turned on the light, its dim yellow glow illuminating the empty space. A simple living room with a worn sofa, a tiny kitchen never used for a proper meal, and a bedroom barely fitting a bed and desk. No laughter, no family warmth, just me, alone with the pain. I collapsed onto the chair, peeling off my soaked suit, and looked around. Everything here reminded me of Dad, like unhealed wounds. I hugged my knees and memories surged like a raging river. I recalled the time after Mom died. She passed from cancer when I was 16, leaving Dad and me adrift in our big house. Dad, Arthur Mitchell, became both father and mother. He raised me alone, not remarrying right away, devoting himself to the company and me. Early mornings, he'd make simple breakfasts for us, fried eggs and toast. Afternoons, he taught me the trade. Corbin, cars aren't just machines, they're dreams on wheels. Stay steadfast, son. He taught me honor, never sell your conscience for money. Evenings by the fireplace, he shared startup stories, from a tiny garage with 2 employees to a corporation of hundreds. Hardships will come, but honor will keep you standing. Now it hurt my heart. Dad, I stayed steadfast, but why did you abandon me like this? Then memories of the years we revived the company after the economic crisis. Mitchell Motors nearly went bankrupt. Orders plummeted, stock crashed, employees quit en masse. Dad called me back from LA, voice weary but resolute. Son, come help me. I dropped my internship at another car company, flew home immediately. We worked 18-hour days, cutting costs, designing fuel-efficient models, persuading investors. Sleepless nights in the office, cold coffee, Dad patting my shoulder. We'll get through this, Corbin. Together. And we did. Mitchell Motors soared again, sales doubled, stock skyrocketed. That pride when Dad hugged me before all employees. This is my son, the company's future. Now all that remained was silence, a crumpled dismissal letter on the table, and the scornful eyes of those I once trusted. Veronica, treating me like trash at the funeral. Marcus, smirking during the will reading. I clenched the paper, wanting to tear it apart, but let it drop. Why did Dad sign that will? Or was he coerced? Doubt crept in, making me anxious. I turned on the TV. News still flooded. Scandal at Mitchell Motors. Biological son fired. Reporters interviewed former employees, some regretful, most silent. Word of my ousting spread through Detroit like wildfire. Industry friends ghosted me, as if I were contagious. I called Tom, an old West Coast partner. Tom, can we meet? His voice hesitated. Corbin, not a good time. New company, you understand? Old partners refused meetings, emails bounced back with busy excuses. I was removed from every board I'd served on. Invitations revoked as if I never existed. I painfully realized I'd lost everything. Dad, job, honor, faith in family. Dad, the one I loved most, gone suddenly, leaving an unfillable void. Job 12 years down the drain, now unemployed, penniless beyond meager savings. Honor, what Dad taught to cherish, publicly trampled, branding me the failure in everyone's eyes. And faith in family, Veronica and Marcus, whom I tried to accept, now just betrayal. I sat there, tears streaming, isolation enveloping me. Detroit, the city I loved, now felt like a prison. Rain still fell outside, wind howling through cracks, and I wondered, how do I get back up? But deep down, a small flame flickered. Anger, suspicion. Maybe the will wasn't real. Maybe Dad never abandoned me. That thought made my heart race. Dad, I'll find a way. But now, in this empty apartment, I could only cradle the pain, waiting for dawn. The days that followed passed in heavy despair, like a fog shrouding every thought. I woke each morning with heavy eyes, looking out the window at a gray Detroit under the winter sky. The news still buzzed on TV, Veronica appearing in interviews, beaming, talking about a new vision for Mitchell Motors. Every time I saw her, my heart clenched, anger surging. I turned off the TV, collapsed onto the bed, mind spinning with unanswered questions. Why did Dad sign that will? He had promised me countless times in private talks that the company was my legacy. Or had Veronica manipulated him? The thought sent a shiver down my spine like an electric current. I couldn't stay in Detroit anymore. The city was now full of ghosts. The headquarters where I was humiliated. The cemetery where Dad lay. The streets that once saw us laughing together. I needed to leave, find a place to breathe, to think. Then memories of the old wooden cabin by Lake Huron flooded back, the place Dad and I escaped to every winter for skiing and late-night talks by the fireplace. He had said, "That cabin is yours, Corbin. When everything feels too heavy, go there." Those words now echoed like a guiding light. I packed a few clothes, grabbed my car keys, and drove out of Detroit in silence without looking back. The road north stretched for hours, blanketed in white snow, silent except for the crunch of tires on icy pavement. I drove slowly, radio off, only the wind whistling through the cracked window. Michigan's winter was harsh, trees along the road bare, snowflakes drifting like grains of time. Finally, the cabin emerged among the pines like a faded painting dusted by time but still familiar. It sat by Lake Huron, the frozen surface glinting under weak sunlight. I parked, stepped out, the cold wind slapping my face like a nostalgic greeting. The small house had weathered oak walls cracked with age, a snow-covered sloped roof, a silent chimney. The key jingled in my hand. The door opened with the scent of old wood and accumulated chill. Inside was pitch dark. I flipped the light, its dim yellow glow illuminating polished wooden floors, an ash-filled fireplace, and wall photos. Dad and me skiing, grinning with rosy cheeks. I sank into the old armchair, exhaled, feeling like Dad was still here, somewhere in the air. "Dad, I'm home," I whispered, tears rolling down. This place was full of memories, nights by the fireplace, Dad sharing startup tales. From a small garage, I built an empire. "You'll carry it on, Corbin." Now I'd lost everything, left with just this cabin. I decided to stay clean to forget the pain, but deep down an anxious premonition rose. Maybe Dad left something here. I started cleaning Dad's study, a small upstairs corner with an old wooden desk, bookshelves packed with auto documents, and a window overlooking the lake. Snow fell outside, wind howling through cracks, creating a lonely but peaceful atmosphere. I wiped dust from the desk, organized scattered papers, trying to stay calm. Then I noticed an oil painting on the wall. Lake Huron at sunset, Dad's favorite because Mom painted it before she died. It hung crooked, not aligned as always. My heart beat faster. Why crooked? Dad was meticulous. He hated disorder. I reached up, lifted it down, heavy, and behind it, a wall safe, cleverly concealed, painted to blend with the wall. I froze, hands trembling. A safe? Dad never mentioned it. Suspense surged, adrenaline coursing through me. What was this? A secret? I tried opening it, but the digital lock clicked, demanding a code. I tried Dad's birthday. No. Wedding date with Mom. Still no. Mitchell Motors founding date. Useless. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cold room. I tried various combinations, old phone numbers, zip codes, heart pounding with each failure. Then a thought flashed. My birthday. I entered slowly. Month, day, year. The lock clicked open with a dry snap. My heart nearly stopped. Inside were carefully wrapped document folders in moisture-proof bags, not a speck of dust. I pulled them out, sat on the floor, hands shaking as I opened the bag. First, original Mitchell Motors share certificates. Yellowed papers, Dad's clear signature proving majority ownership. Then the real will, notarized by a lawyer. In it, everything was mine. Company assets, investment funds, Not a word about her or Marcus. I read and reread, heart racing. Was this real? The other will fake. Doubt turned to truth. Suspense peaking. There was also a trust fund certificate in my name, millions of dollars, anonymous for protection. Dad had prepared everything. In the middle, a small envelope in Dad's familiar shaky handwriting. To Corbin. I opened it. A thin sheet appeared. Dad's voice echoed as I read, "My dear son, if you're reading this, the worst has happened." I was uneasy entering this new marriage with Veronica. She's sharp, but I sensed calculation. I prepared everything to protect you if she changed. This will is real. Others may be forged. Don't trust words. Trust evidence and justice. Mitchell Motors is yours, but honor is what you must uphold. I love you and am proud of you. Arthur. I sat silent in the wooden room, rereading the letter, tears falling unnoticed. Dad never abandoned me. He foresaw, protected me from afar. Grief for his loss now mixed with joy, anger with hope. I cried for Dad, his wisdom, the path to justice ahead. I sat for hours, letter in hand, memories flooding like a torrent. The last time we were here, 2 winters ago, heavy snow. We skied until exhausted, then sat by the fireplace. Dad sipped coffee, voice warm. Corbin, life is like skiing. High slopes, deep drops. But hold your honor and you'll get through. He didn't mention Veronica, but now I recalled his worried eyes. Maybe he hid the safe then. I stood, lit the fireplace, flames roared, chasing the chill. Outside, snow fell thicker, pines whispering in the wind. I reviewed the documents again, checking every notary seal, real, impossible to forge. Suspense rose. How did Veronica fake the will? Who helped her? I needed a lawyer, but discreetly. Dad taught. Act smart, not rash. A fresh surge of conviction coursed through me like hot blood, chasing away the biting cold of a Michigan winter. I was no longer the failure pushed to the sidelines. I was the true heir, evidence in hand. But I knew better than to rush. Dad had taught me. Acting without thinking is suicide, Corbin. I tidied the cabin, lit the fireplace one last time, and drove back to Detroit the next morning. The snow-covered road now felt like a path of hope, though the wind still howled through the car window. I stopped at a roadside cafe, ordered a steaming black coffee, and sketched a rough plan in my head. First, I needed a trustworthy lawyer. David Cole, Dad's college friend, a seasoned attorney specializing in wills and corporate disputes. Dad had said, "David is the only one I trust." I called him from the cafe, voice trembling. "Uncle David, it's Corbin. I need to see you." He agreed instantly, voice warm and low. "Corbin, I've been waiting. Come to my office now." David Cole's office was in downtown Detroit, an old but dignified building with shelves full of files and the scent of aged paper. I entered, clutching the bag of documents from the safe, heart pounding. David, about 65, silver-haired, gold-rimmed glasses, stood and hugged me like family. "Corbin, I'm sorry about Arthur. He was my best friend." We sat at the large wooden table, and I handed over everything from Dad's cabin, the yellowed papers, the real will, original shares, trust fund, all laid out like treasures from the past. David put on reading glasses, scrutinizing every notary seal, signature, and date. His fingers glided over the pages, eyes narrowing, muttering, This date. That signature." The tension was suffocating. I sat still, suspense mounting. Every second felt like hours, my heart racing. Would he confirm it? Or was it all a delusion? After thorough examination, David looked up, expression stern but eyes flashing. "Corbin, the will Veronica presented is forged. The signature and notary seals are copied. I see Photoshop traces here and many dates altered. Attorney Lang, he may have been bought." I froze, then exhaled in relief. Forged. Dad never changed his mind. My real will had original signatures, registered notary numbers, and valid witnesses, 2 of Dad's old friends still alive to testify. This proved Dad never altered the inheritance. I was the true owner of Mitchell Motors. Joy and rage surged. Tears rolled down. "Uncle David, what do I do?" He patted my shoulder. "We'll get justice, but discreetly. Keep this secret and gather full evidence to force Veronica to reveal herself. Rush and she'll destroy proof." We mapped a plan. Tell no one. Collect more fraud evidence. David would check official notary records. I needed an insider. Then I remembered Jenna Lee, the chief accountant who owed Dad her life. Around 40, brown hair in a bun, thick glasses, the loyal woman who'd worked for Mitchell Motors since Dad's startup days. Dad once saved her from personal bankruptcy with an interest-free loan. She was forever grateful. But after Veronica took over, Jenna was demoted to a minor internal audit role, far from her former position. I'd seen her at headquarters, eyes sad but still loyal to Dad's legacy. Jenna can help, I thought, heart racing. I contacted her via an old number, texting discreetly, "Jenna, it's Corbin. Need to meet privately. About my dad." She hesitated at first, calling back, voice shaky. "Corbin, it's dangerous now. Veronica watches everyone." I persuaded, "Just a cafe, no one will know. For my dad, Jenna." Finally, she agreed, whispering, "Okay. For Mr. Arthur." We met at a quiet suburban cafe. Jenna arrived late, bundled in a coat, eyes darting nervously. "Corbin, are you okay? After everything?" I briefly mentioned the real will without details, saying I needed financial proof. She was silent for a long time, then sighed. I knew Veronica was up to something shady. "She's funneling money through strange funds, hiding from main books." She handed me a USB with copied internal transactions, Excel files, invoices, transfers. I hugged her, voice choking. "Thank you, Jenna. Dad would be so proud." My heart raced, suspense building at what was about to unfold. We parted quickly. I drove to David's office, the USB burning in my pocket. From that data, Corbin and David uncovered a web of financial irregularities. We sat in his office, computer screen glowing, scanning every line. Veronica had quietly siphoned company money, millions, through shell funds in her and Marcus's names. An investment to a ghost company in the Caymans, a consulting fee to Marcus's personal account. "This is money laundering, Corbin," David said gravely. "She's selling shares under the table, gutting the company." I stared at the files, shaking with rage. Dad built Mitchell Motors with blood and sweat. Now they were draining it. For nights on end, we pored over documents, marking key evidence. Cold coffee, stinging eyes, but suspense kept us alert. "Look, transfer the day after the funeral," I pointed. David nodded. "Perfect, ties to the fake will." Those nights dragged on, Detroit wind howling outside, but each discovery brought us closer to justice. I looked at the pile of evidence, knowing the fight to reclaim Dad's honor and Mitchell Motors' truth was about to begin. I sat amid the papers, heart pounding with suspense. Veronica thought she'd won, but now I had the weapons. "Dad, I'll take it all back." The weeks that followed passed in tense silence, like the calm before the storm. David Cole and I worked in secrecy. We knew any misstep could alert Veronica, and she would destroy everything like a venomous snake guarding its lair. While we quietly built the case, Veronica Hale flaunted her power more brazenly, acting like the new queen of Mitchell Motors. She treated the company as her personal kingdom, and from afar, I could only grit my teeth and watch, rage boiling in my chest. She appeared constantly in the media like a rising star. Every morning I turned on the TV and her face filled the screen. Interviews on local business channels, articles in the Detroit Free Press, even national talk shows. "My bold vision will usher Mitchell Motors into an era of innovation," she declared, voice resounding, perfect smile under studio lights. Under the guise of financial restructuring, Veronica began quietly selling off smaller factories, facilities Dad had built from the ground up, sweating to afford outdated equipment. I read the news. The Flint suburb plant sold to a foreign conglomerate for a pittance. Dad had opposed selling core assets. We keep the factories to preserve jobs for Detroit's people, son. I clearly remembered a family meeting years ago when Veronica suggested investing in high tech instead of old plants. Dad shook his head. No, Veronica. That's the company's soul. Now she did the opposite, redirecting funds to unfamiliar ventures, self-driving software from Silicon Valley startups, even New York real estate. Fields' dad and I had opposed as too risky, unrelated to traditional autos. From Jenna's data, I tracked millions flowing out with no profit in sight. My heart clenched each time. The company was being bled dry, and I could only document, waiting for the moment. At the same time, she announced plans to rename the company Hale Automotive Group, claiming it reflects the spirit of innovation. I read it online, heart pounding like a drum. Hale? Her and Marcus's surname, erasing the Mitchell legacy? She held a lavish press conference at headquarters, inviting reporters and major shareholders. On screen, she stood with the microphone. Mitchell Motors is outdated. Hale Automotive Group will be the future. Modern, dynamic. Applause rang out, but I saw unease in some veteran employees' eyes. Dad, you'd be heartbroken. The Mitchell name was Detroit's symbol, from a small garage to an empire. Now she wanted to erase it, wipe Dad from history. I clenched my fists, suspense building at the thought of her downfall. But for now, I could only monitor from afar, noting every detail. Announcement date, stock fluctuations, discreet internal emails from Jenna. Marcus Hale was appointed CFO despite zero experience, acting like a kid handed candy. I knew him, 33, never truly worked, just spent his mother's money. Now he sat in Dad's chair, signing reckless spending decisions. From Jenna's data, I saw him buy supercars, a blazing red Ferrari, hundreds of thousands under company test vehicle. Then lavish events, cocktail parties at luxury hotels, inviting celebrities and influencers to promote the new brand. Social media photos, him grinning beside the supercar, champagne in hand, Veronica proudly at his side. Hale Automotive, the new luxury, he posted. I seethed. Dad taught, company money is for investment, not waste. Now he turned it into a game. Suspense rose as I logged each expense, every line an embezzlement proof. Mitchell Motors' image morphed into a flashy shell, hollow inside. From afar, I saw it clearly. New gleaming logo on headquarters, bombastic TV ads, but chaos within. Jenna whispered over a secure call. Employees are worried, Corbin. Sales are dropping, but Veronica only cares about image. Veteran engineers like Hank, who designed the first engine with Dad, were fired or forced into early retirement. Hank cried leaving, Jenna murmured. In their place, Veronica's people, young Wall Street experts clueless about cars, only numbers. I remembered Hank. Young Corbin, cars need soul. Now that soul was dying. Small shareholders grew anxious as stock swung wildly, up and down unpredictably from Veronica's under-the-table sales. Internal leaks revealed murky research fund spending. Millions vanished into phantom projects. I collected it all, files piling up, suspense mounting with each new piece. After weeks of intense preparation, Veronica Hale held a grand press conference in the main lobby of headquarters, the former heart of Mitchell Motors. I read about it online, heart pounding, hundreds of reporters, shareholders, and celebrities invited. She turned the event into a lavish party with flashing neon lights, upbeat music, and tables laden with wine. The press unanimously hailed her as an automotive industry power icon. I turned on the TV and saw headlines scrolling, Veronica Hale, the new queen of Detroit. Articles praised, with bold vision, Mrs. Hale will lead the auto industry into a new era. She graced magazine covers, beaming, talking about innovation and sustainable growth. But I knew the truth behind it. She was gutting the company, selling assets to fill her own pockets. Every compliment cut like a knife, but I swallowed my anger, waiting. Jenna messaged, "Press conference today, Corbin." She's very confident. I put on a simple suit, baseball cap pulled low, and slipped into the hall through a back door. In the back row, amid the buzzing crowd, I watched silently. My heart drummed, suspense making my hands shake. I knew the moment to act had come. "Dad, today I'll restore your honor." Before the conference, David Cole and I had submitted all evidence to investigators, the Michigan Department of Justice and the Detroit FBI branch. We met them in a secure office, handing over the real will, financial documents proving fraud, transfers through shell funds, undervalued asset sales, forged signatures. "This is big," the lead investigator said, eyes narrowing at the files. "We'll move as soon as we have the warrant." David nodded. "Today's press conference is perfect timing. She won't suspect." I left the office, heart racing, feeling like I was walking a tightrope. One mistake and everything crumbled. But I trusted the evidence, trusted Dad. That day the hall was packed, camera flashes nonstop. Veronica took the stage in a blazing red outfit, jewelry sparkling like a star. She spoke eloquently. "Today we witness the birth of Hale Automotive Group, the symbol of innovation, strength, and the future. Mitchell Motors has fulfilled its mission. Now it's time for a new chapter." Thunderous applause, reporters scribbling furiously. She outlined massive investments, international partnerships, and the legacy I will continue. I sat in the back, fists clenched, rage boiling. Legacy, she was destroying it. As Veronica finished, triumphant smile on her lips, applause roaring. That was when I stood, walking slowly toward the stage. My heart felt like it would burst, suspense making my steps heavy. Whispers spread through the hall as people recognized me. "That's Corbin Mitchell!" "What's he doing here?" Eyes turned, cameras swiveled. I stepped onto the stage, placed the document stack on the table before the microphone, flashes exploding like a storm. On the giant screen behind, secretly connected remotely by Jenna, the enlarged real will with Arthur Mitchell's signature glowed clearly, original notary seal visible. The hall fell silent. Veronica froze momentarily, her smile hardening like stone. She looked at me, eyes flashing panic, but tried to compose herself, forcing a laugh. "This is just a misunderstanding, everyone." "Corbin, what are you doing?" Her voice trembled, no longer sharp. I said nothing, just stood, letting the evidence speak. The crowd buzzed, reporters whispering, "Real will. What's going on?" At that moment, the hall doors burst open with a bang. Investigators, 3 in black suits, badges gleaming, along with lawyer David Cole, strode in, steps resolute. The lead investigator raised the warrant. "Veronica Hale, we have an order to freeze assets and summon you for will forgery, share misappropriation, and financial fraud." His voice echoed. The hall erupted in chaos. Cameras flashed relentlessly. People stood, murmuring. Marcus in the front row jumped up in panic, trying to slip out a side door, face ashen, sweating profusely. But security and reporters blocked him, lenses thrust close. "Marcus Hale, any comment?" He stammered, speechless, shaking his head in terror. Veronica went pale, completely losing control. She shouted amid the turmoil, "This is a conspiracy. I did nothing wrong. You have no right." Her voice shrill, no longer regal, just a frantic woman, hair disheveled, makeup smudged under the flashes. She lunged for the microphone, but security stopped her. Before hundreds of reporters, the image of the powerful chairwoman Hale collapsed in an instant. The applause from moments ago turned to uproar, gossip, and non-stop flashes like fireworks. Fraud? Forged will? Whispers spread, phones buzzing with breaking news. I stood silent in the hall, needing no words. The truth spoke for me. Dad's honor finally restored before the world. "Dad, I did it." Tears rolled down, mixing with the noise, but tears of victory. The chaos lasted hours. Reporters swarmed me, questions rapid fire. "Corbin, what evidence do you have?" "What did Veronica do?" I shook my head, letting David Cole answer. "We have ironclad proof. Justice will be served." Veronica was led away, loosely cuffed, head bowed, daring not to look at anyone. Marcus sobbed, pleading, "Mom, what's happening?" But no one listened. I left the hall, Detroit wind whipping my face, relief mixed with sorrow. Dad, your legacy is saved, but why did it have to come to this? Suspense gave way to peace, but I knew the fight wasn't over. Just hours after the press conference, national media erupted with the news, like a bomb detonating across every channel. I drove back to my apartment, the car radio already blaring the announcer's voice. Breaking: Veronica Hale, chairwoman of Hale Automotive Group, under investigation for will forgery and asset misappropriation at Mitchell Motors. My heart raced, though I'd anticipated it. I pulled over, checked my phone, social media exploded. Twitter, Facebook, major outlets like CNN and Fox News all carried similar headlines. Detroit shocker, powerhouse chairwoman exposed. The conference hall video spread virally, millions of views in the first hour. Major and minor shareholders turned en masse, like a tidal wave sweeping everything away. The next morning, an email from Uncle David. Stock plunging, Corbin. They're panic selling. Mitchell Motors shares nosedived. From the highs Veronica once boasted, down over 40% in a single day. Investment deals froze. Major partners from Japan and Germany sent formal letters pausing all transactions until the situation stabilizes. I imagined frantic shareholder meetings, panicked calls. We've been duped. Dad taught me about markets. Stock is trust, son. Lose trust, everything collapses. Now that trust shattered, and I felt a pang. The company Dad built from a small garage was dragged into a scandal vortex. I sat in my apartment, staring at stock charts on my laptop, heart aching. Not for money, but for Dad's legacy being wounded. Public outrage erupted unprecedentedly. On social media, exposés of shady deals during her reign spread like wildfire. In desperation, Veronica hired a PR firm to claim I fabricated evidence for family revenge. I saw the first tabloid article. Corbin Mitchell, vengeful heir. Forged proof to topple stepmother. She gave a video interview from hiding. This is personal conspiracy. Corbin envies our success. Marcus posted online, voice shaky. My brother is destroying the family. But the more they denied, the more real documents surfaced. Uncle David and investigators leaked further proof, scanned forged signatures, irregular transfer invoices. Media dove in, analyzing. Arthur Mitchell's signature photoshopped, experts confirm. I watched, not smiling, just shaking my head sadly. Why keep fighting? Dad said, lies only last temporarily, truth prevails. Truth was prevailing, but I felt no joy, only regret for a family that could have been different. Legal experts confirmed my will's signatures and notary seals were fully valid. On TV, a renowned attorney analyzed. Original notary from before the remarriage, living witnesses to testify. Veronica's is clearly fake. Her defenses crumbled like dust in the wind. Media turned. Veronica Hale, from queen to criminal? Jenna called. Corbin, everyone at the company is relieved. She's finished. But I just sighed. Jenna, I wish it hadn't come to this. Initial suspense gave way to exhaustion. The fight dragged on. Dad's legacy battered too much. When the official arrest warrant issued, Veronica fled Detroit at night, taking some assets and fake papers. Uncle David told me, police are pursuing Corbin. She drove out at midnight. Marcus vanished. No one knew where. Perhaps with her or alone. News spread fast, media hunted. Veronica Hale on the run. Mitchell Motors scandal hotter than ever. I sat in my apartment watching rain outside, a melancholic feeling. She was Dad's wife, family after all. Why run? Dad, would you forgive? I felt no triumph, only regret for what could have been good. 3 days later, police arrested Veronica at Toronto Airport, attempting to leave on a fake passport. News exploded. Photos of her cuffed, face covered with a scarf circulated everywhere. Powerhouse chairwoman captured in Canada, trying to flee to Europe. Reports detailed, suitcase of cash and forged documents. Marcus was found in a border hotel, trembling as he surrendered. I watched on TV, heart racing but joyless. Veronica Hale faces heavy prison time, the anchor said. The powerful chairwoman's fall for fraud story shocked the nation, from Detroit to New York, everyone talking. And I, silently watching it all on screens, felt no glee. Just quiet sadness as Dad's legacy endured too many storms. Dad, I won, but the cost was steep. The company now chaotic, employees anxious, stock plummeting. I sat holding Dad's letter, tears falling. The fight isn't over, trials ahead, restoration. But now, in this empty apartment, I could only sigh, waiting for a new dawn. The days after Veronica's arrest in Toronto hung heavy over Detroit, shrouded in fog-like tension. I followed the news on TV and in papers, each report a knife reminding me of the losses. Veronica Hale was extradited to Detroit just days later, her plane landing under tight federal police guard. Photos of her descending the steps, hands cuffed, face hidden under a coat, spread everywhere. She was no longer the powerful queen, just a weary woman, disheveled hair, eyes dodging lenses. I sat in my apartment, staring at those images, heart clenching. Dad, you once loved her, even briefly. Why did it end like this? I recalled rare family dinners, Dad trying to bond us, Veronica's fake smiles, Marcus's silent envy. Now everything shattered, and I was the one pushing them into prison. That quiet sadness kept me awake, mind swirling with memories and company worries. Investigators worked swiftly, thoroughly validating our evidence. Uncle David Cole took me to the prosecutor's office, where they scrutinized every detail. Dad's real will with clear signature, original notary seal, living witnesses to confirm. This is rock solid, Corbin, the prosecutor said gravely. Hale can't deny it. Under pressure from financial records, irregular transfers, shell funds, fake invoices, Veronica finally admitted forging the will, misappropriating shares, and illegal transfers. She confessed in interrogation, voice shaking, I just wanted to secure Marcus's future. But it saved nothing. Marcus was charged as an accomplice. He'd signed reckless spending knowing the funds were illicit. Yet he got leniency for cooperating, spilling everything about his mother to reduce his sentence. Uncle David told me in his office, my hands gripping a coffee cup. Marcus sold out his mom to save himself, he said. I shook my head sadly. He was once my stepbrother, though not blood. Dad, you'd be so disappointed. The trial drew massive media attention like a live tragedy. Detroit's courtroom overflowed with reporters, shareholders, curious public. I entered in a simple black suit, heart pounding with suspense. Seats packed, flashes nonstop, Veronica in the defendant's row, pale, no longer sharp. Marcus beside her, head bowed, avoiding my gaze. Clear evidence left Veronica no defense. Her lawyer tried misunderstanding and family pressure, but the prosecutor presented my files, enlarged forged signatures on screen, financial transfer charts, testimony from Jenna and old staff. Mrs. Hale siphoned over $20 million, the prosecutor boomed. The jury sat silent. I trembled, remembering Dad. Son, justice is slow but sure. Each testimony hammered the past. Veronica bowed her head, whispering to her lawyer, daring not look up. The 3-week trial was an emotional storm. Witnesses recounting firings, mistakes under her reign. I testified last, voice choking. My father never abandoned me. This is his real will. The hall fell silent. Tears rolled on some old shareholders' cheeks. The court sentenced Veronica to 25 years, confiscating fraudulent assets and restoring full inheritance to me. The verdict thundered, Defendant Veronica Hale committed grave crimes, damaging Detroit's economic legacy. She stood, ashen, silent, eyes empty on me. Marcus sobbed but got probation for leniency. Scattered applause filled the room, but I felt no joy, only relief mixed with sorrow. Outside, reporters swarmed. Corbin, how do you feel? I answered briefly. Justice served. Detroit wind whipped my face. I drove home, mind reeling. Dad, I reclaimed Mitchell Motors, but at what cost? Your honor restored, but this scandal will haunt the company forever. Right after the trial, I officially took over Mitchell Motors, entering headquarters with a strange feeling, like returning home after a nightmare. Dad's office remained, old wooden desk, family photos on the wall. I called an emergency meeting addressing employees. We'll restore Arthur Mitchell's legacy. I restructured immediately, fired Veronica's team, those who signed her bad decisions. They left silently. Some apologized. Then I rehired loyal staff. Hank returned as chief engineer, Jenna as head accountant. "Thank you, Corbin," Hank said, eyes glistening. I patted his shoulder. "No, thank you for staying with Dad." The company recovered. I halted shady deals, refocused on core auto production, invested in green tech as Dad dreamed. Stock rose again, new contracts signed. Shareholders, media, public saw me as the worthy successor. Headlines: Corbin Mitchell, legacy savior. I read with a sad smile. Worthy? I just followed Dad. Keep your honor, son. Mitchell Motors' reputation rebuilt bit by bit, but scandal scars lingered. Months after the trial, as the company stabilized, I got a prison visit request from Veronica Hale, a letter via her lawyer. "I want to see Corbin for final words." I hesitated in my office, staring at Dad's photo. Why meet? To justify? Beg forgiveness? Uncle David advised, "Go to close it." I agreed, not to forgive, but to release resentment. Michigan State Prison was cold, gray concrete walls, iron doors clanging. I entered the visiting room through thick glass. Veronica sat in prisoner uniform, grayer hair, gaunt face. She tried composure, but her eyes were weary, no longer sharp. "Corbin," she said through the mic, voice hoarse, "thank you for coming." I sat staring straight. "What do you want?" She smiled weakly. "I don't regret it. Everyone just wants better than others. I did it for Marcus, for the future." Her words cut like knives, but I felt no anger, only sadness. Dad once loved her, thought she'd bring happiness. Now she sat justifying greed. I replied curtly, "Living better doesn't mean trampling those who trust you, especially them. Dad trusted you." She fell silent, eyes vacant, no more excuses. She bowed her head, hands clenched. I saw a tear fall. I stood, left the room calmly, decisively. No goodbye, just closing a painful chapter. Outside, spring wind warmed my face. I felt true relief. All resentment closed, only justice and honor restored. "Dad, I did it." The company revives, employees laugh in the shops. I know you're smiling from above. But this journey taught me much. About trust, greed, truth's power. I drove home, Detroit sunny, ready for the new road. After closing the case, I embarked on a new chapter with Mitchell Motors. Not a power struggle, but a journey to restore true value. In the early days of taking over, I stepped into headquarters with a strange feeling, like returning home after a long nightmare. Dad's office remained intact. The old wooden desk scarred from years of work and the photo of us beaming on the wall. I sat in the chair, fingers touching the desk, memories flooding back. Dad here, sketching car designs, teaching me about engines. "Son, the company isn't for domination, it's for service." Now I understood his words more deeply than ever. No more Veronica with flashy plans, no more Marcus with wasteful spending. I called a full staff meeting in the first week, standing in the hall that once witnessed my humiliation. "We'll rebuild from the foundation," I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. "No short-term profits. We focus on sustainable value as my father did." Applause rang out, eyes sparkling with hope. Warmth spread through me. "Dad, I won't let you down." I didn't chase expansion or profits like other conglomerates. I focused on a solid base, investing in green technology and people. Dad's view of the company's soul. In the early months, I spent hours in the production shops talking to engineers, listening. "We'll shift to electric vehicles, but not to follow trends," I explained to Hank, now back as design head. "To protect the environment as Dad dreamed." We invested in eco-friendly batteries, safe autonomous systems, and internal training programs. Dad taught, "People are the greatest asset, Corbin. Train them, they'll build the company." So I launched free courses for young staff, inviting university experts. In each session, I sat among them listening, feeling closer to Dad. The company atmosphere shifted from post-scandal anxiety to excitement. I worked 12-hour days but not tired. This was a mission, not a war. Years after the trial, Mitchell Motors, under my leadership, reclaimed its top spot in Detroit's auto industry. Time flew from chaos to solid stability. Looking back, I was amazed. Steady stock growth, sales surpassing old records. We expanded markets without sacrificing values. Our EVs sold out in California, exported to Europe. I recalled a shareholder meeting with the financial report. We've overcome the crisis through honest leadership. Applause. I smiled, thinking of Dad. He'd be proud, not for money, but for keeping Mitchell Motors' soul. Detroit, which saw the fall, now hailed us as a revival symbol. Headlines: Corbin Mitchell guiding the comeback. But I skimped on reading. Fame wasn't the goal. Dad, I just want to live as you taught. I realigned the company on sustainability and integrity, focusing on green tech, user safety, and young talent development. Every decision followed that principle. We poured millions into recyclable batteries, carbon reduction, not for ads, but planetary duty. Our cars must be safe for everyone, I said in design meetings, recalling Dad checking every engine detail. Our EV lines won prestigious awards, putting Mitchell Motors back on the global map. The first, Mitchell EcoDrive, took Green Car of the Year at the Geneva Auto Show. Accepting the trophy under bright lights, tears rolled. "This is for my father, Arthur Mitchell," I said, voice breaking. Media roared, "Mitchell Motors revives with green tech." Then the electric SUV won U.S. Auto Association Safety Awards. We exported to Asia, Europe. Sales soared. But I didn't stop. Each new model advanced. Longer batteries, faster charging, competitive pricing. Dad, see? The company didn't just survive, it leads trends. Every morning I arrived early, watching assembly lines run, feeling peace. I sought no fame, worked quietly, lived simply in my small downtown Detroit apartment. I skipped lavish parties, long interviews. Life was basic. Early runs along the Detroit River, late work, evening tech books. The apartment stayed sparse, old blueprints, Dad's photo. Friends asked, "Why not a big house?" I smiled. Dad taught simplicity as happiness key. I drove our own EV, ate at familiar shop cafes, spent time with staff. I restarted the Young Engineer Support Program, reviving the Arthur Mitchell Foundation Scholarship Fund, aiding mechanical and auto design students with full scholarships and internships. The idea came one sleepless night rereading Dad's letter. "Honor is the lasting legacy," he wrote. So I founded it, dedicating 10% of profits. Students from poor Detroit schools got full rides, shop internships. I recalled the fund's launch, addressing the young crowd. "My father started in a small garage. You can too." A boy, eyes bright. "I want to design cars like Mr. Arthur." I patted his shoulder. "Stay steadfast." The program grew fast. Hundreds helped. Many stayed with the company. Dad, this is how I preserve your legacy. Not money, but opportunities for the next generation. Weekends, I often returned to the Lake Huron cabin where it all began, where I felt closest to Dad. The northern road was familiar, snow or golden leaves by season. The cabin unchanged. Warm wooden walls, fireplace ready. I cleaned, cooked simply, sat by the lake watching water sparkle. Memories surged. Dad and I skiing, laughing. Now alone, but not lonely. Dad here in the wind, the lake. On still nights, I reread the old letter, reflecting on the journey, losses, betrayals, lessons in honor. I understood. Money can vanish, power shift, but honor, once kept, is the most enduring legacy. I live by it. Every company decision honest, even tough. Remember, no need to conquer the world. Just don't lose yourself. And so I walk on, ready for whatever